Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. Today is, well, it's supposed to be kind of a rainy day. And when you have the summer off, which I guess a lot of people who have been in school get that sort of fun thing, rainy days can seem kind of dreary because, well, people don't like to go out in the rain. You know what? I think you should still go out and play. Yeah, I think the rain is probably the best place for a lot of things. You're probably not going to get really sick, so getting a little soggy is not the worst thing. So I'm trying to thinking about what's sort of fun about the rain, and I wonder if I want to start with a doodle about something to do with the rain, maybe. Guess we'll find out. I think I'm going to start, maybe with boots. We'll find out. I like to see what just pops out of my head if I don't plan. Oh, let's put a little bit more ink in this pen. So I'm going to start off by drawing what would be just kind of like a little outline, maybe. I'm going to zoom in on that. Of a head. And then I want there to be kind of like an oversized coat. I'll add detail after. So, something that kind of pops into my head is a little story, I suppose, of just being a kid and how much fun it is to jump in puddles. We don't get a whole lot of opportunity to do that as adults. There's I don't know if it's a social sort of thing that it ends up being. But it would be strange to see, an adult outside jumping in puddles. I think we need to do that every so often. Now, I've talked about this a little bit in the past. This is not recommended, by the way. I will ride a shopping cart out to my vehicle from the grocery store, and it would be horrible for me to wipe out in that cart. I do have a pretty good sense of balance, but that doesn't really matter in the great scheme of things. So yeah, no, I don't recommend doing that, but it seems fun to me. So I still kind of do it. So that probably looks strange to people. Trying to imagine what it might look like to have a coat that's too big, because you were told to put on a coat, perhaps. But your boots would fit reasonably well, although you'd probably grow out of them kind of fast. So this is the roughness right now that I have going on. The sketch part. Okay. Little tiny bit of a shirt there. We can have a little bit of a splash going on here. Let's back this out just a little bit. Let's go to there, let's say. All right, so let's see. I want there to be a little bit of color to this, I think, before the detail gets added in. And then it'll get blurry, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can't draw a rainy day without adding water to it somehow. So I'm scribbling in color. With this raincoat. I hope you had a wonderful Father's Day. I hope you got the opportunity to hang out with your father, or the memories of, depending on whether or not that person might still be around. Again, I think that's very important to do such a thing. Now, what color should the boots be? With our blur of a well, I think kind of blue, maybe. So we'll just kind of drift in blue. My own terminology, by the way. To drift in something. And maybe a little bit of red on the bottom. So that could be superhero kind of colors. You know, like Supergirl's coming out here soon. You know, relates to Superman. Spider-Man is blue and red as well. A shirt underneath there. Let's go with not really perfectly primary colors, mind you, but green next. I'm going to go with a very, very light blue here next. See if that'll kind of look a little bit like water. You know, mud puddles have healing properties. You ever hear of people who get facials when they go to a salon or a spa? I think mud therapy has got to be one of the most remarkable things that human beings do that's sort of disgusting. You know, if a pig, for example, who doesn't really have sweat glands, wants to cool down, they would do so in the mud, which is a fun proof of how intelligent that creature really is. So those are the sort of the main colors that I'm using with that. I'm going to put in a slight amount of skin tone. I find it amusing. I mean, you can see from my hand that I do have melanin, and it's a strange thing that we can split up human beings based on skin tone. We're all the same. We're all the same species, for example, and the concept of differentiating human beings based on that, to say that this could be race, an inherited trait, is a weird way to separate creatures that are all the same. So it's quite possible to, let's see here, I do have a cup with water in it. Ooh. It's quite possible to say that human beings are all the same race and have that be true. Now, what I'm doing here first, I think there might have been a little bit of blue in my brush. I didn't perhaps clean it properly, or maybe I'm dragging out some of the ink that I put down first. That is okay. But yes, human beings are all the same. Just different things that you would have inherited, different things that would have changed, I suppose, in your development. But I want you to know that you're not half of anything or a quarter of anything. It might relate to your parentage, I suppose, but you're a fully human being. Let's see here. And that's important to make note of that. When I was growing up, some people would look at me and go, well, just what are you supposed to be? And I was raised kind of crafty, I suppose, but not really crafty. That's not really fair to say such a thing, because that would think that there's something malevolent about that. But I would say, oh, I'm Canadian. I was born in Canada. Well, what about your parents? They might ask, and I'd be like, well, I'm still Canadian. It's almost like I wanted them to be I don't know, embarrassed that they would even ask me. It's like, you're determined to put another human being in a box of sorts. And I think doing that is a way of trying to control something about that person. There's lots of things that you can inherit from your parents. Sometimes you can just say, well, by name I've inherited, or maybe the color of your eyes. Those sorts of things, again, traits, they're important. It's a way to recognize family connections. I'm going to do a little bit here with the face, just to kind of smooth out a couple of things there. But if you've been adopted, for example, the people that adopted you, strangely, wonderfully, you can look like that person because you are around them. You might make a similar face. You might develop a similar laugh line, a similar way of walking, even if your skin tone is completely different. Ever hear of, let's say couples kind of looking alike? Well, they can dress alike, I suppose. But there's an association, I guess, that can happen with human beings that hang out with other human beings. That's kind of interesting. I'm just kind of rambling on. I often will do red here last just because of the powerfulness of red. Okay, so we're at about 17 and a half minutes. Now I'm going to add a little bit of detail to this. I'm going to set the cup aside because it spills funny. Okay. Now I may go back in with another color or two after. But we're going to kind of add detail in now. It is good and happy to be proud of where your family's from, but it is no better, in truth, than anyone else and where they're from. There might be certain things, I suppose, that makes life a little easier, or I guess you could say a little bit better, based on certain privileges that you might have in those other countries. And I'm proud to be Canadian. I think it's a true privilege of sorts, I guess. There are things that can be disappointing. But in truth, I didn't really have a choice with where I was born. But I'm still proud of that. I like to try to think about other human beings on the planet. and what sort of things they might be going through. I think that's an important thing to remember. But even in your own neighborhood, your own town, may not be having the best of times. I think part of our job is to find out the needs of others, and if we have extra, to share. So, something that I like to do is I like to go through my record collection, my cassette tapes. I like to go through my old CDs. Although semi-related to what I'm rambling on about, and not perfectly related, because I've been trying to find the rest of the albums. Actually, give me a moment. I'm just going to put the cap back on this. I found this. This is a CD that would have been sent out as kind of like a sample of sorts, if you can imagine that as a single. So this is Amanda Marshall, probably one of the most remarkable Canadian vocalists that I've ever heard in person. That's from this as a debut album. And pretty much every track on this is just absolutely remarkable. I think, yeah, pretty much actually every song is remarkable. So as a vocalist, this is from 1995. So this is quite a while ago. But not really that long ago. I mean, as you get... So this person and I were kind of comparable in age. She has an album, although the most recent one is like from 2023, I believe. And I think I have that as like a digital download or something, which is not always typical of me. I like to own physical copies. But back a few albums, there's a song that she has. It's called Tuesday's Child. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with some of that poetry, but Tuesday's Child is full of grace. And that's something that I try to keep in mind when I'm doing things. I think grace can be about gratefulness, and grace can be about poise, I suppose, too. But I encourage you to look up Amanda Marshall. The doodle that I'm kind of doing here, which is probably getting a little out of hand, I don't know. I was thinking about the song, really, which is the first song on this album, which is Let It Rain, which is what today is going to be, a rainy day. So that's what I was thinking about. But yeah, amazing vocalist. And in my vehicle, I have the ability to listen to CDs. So I'm going to have that playing throughout the day. It's fun to revisit some of those tunes. Yeah, I think people miss out on albums and how much fun they are to listen to songs back to back. I think the songs themselves can kind of tell a story, how they're set up on the album. It's really kind of a fun thing. Okay. Letting the buttons kind of do what buttons do. Do you own rubber boots? Is that a thing for you? Or do you just put on your footwear and then hope that it dries out? I do have rubber boots. I actually wear them when I cut the grass. Where I am, there are deer that run around, and they're remarkable creatures, but they are long-legged rats sometimes too. So right now it seems as if I'm kind of really possibly overworking some part of this. Which isn't the worst thing, I suppose. There's always that point. Where I need to just kind of let this go. $1995. That's a little while ago when that album came out. This is, again, I think you should look this up. I think the song Dark Horse is one of my favorites as well. I mean, as I said, these are all awesome tunes. And when you own an album, when you go buy one, yeah, you can open it up. Sometimes there's lyrics that you can read. Make sure you understand what is being said. I think I'm almost done here. This type of hat would go by different names. Sometimes it's just as easy to say it's a fisherman's hat. Some might call it a southwester. I've had people in my family that fish, which is really cool. So much of the world's food does come from the ocean. I have a great deal of respect for the ocean. It's a place that we really haven't discovered everything about. Still mysteries in the ocean. But I encourage you to go and play in the rain. If you have grandchildren, if you are a grandchild, get out there and jump around in a couple of puddles. I think it's quite possible it might add a year or two to your life to do such a thing. If you are in a chair or you use a scooter, you got to splash some water. You're made mostly of water, of course. A great deal of you is water. And to play in that, oh, you got to play. It's essential. I think that's kind of it. I know that's there's way too much going on, I think, with this picture. That's all right. Sometimes I just need to get stuff out of my head. Right here, I'm going to put like little twinges of things. I'm going to call that twinges. Little tiny X's. X's and Y's. I wasn't thinking that I was going to do this, but I'm going to. We'll call that rain effects. Grab the cup once again. Ooh, there's something floating in there. I think it's a little piece of paper. And I'm just going to create little lines going up from those little Y's. Now some of them have spread out too much, I think. I'm going to try to get some of them and kind of blur them, blend them, whatever I can do. Sometimes water does whatever water wants to do. If you get the opportunity, carry an extra umbrella. As a courtesy, that's always nice. You can go to a dollar store and get one. As a bonus courtesy, I wonder if salons do something like that, where they, you know, for people that get their hair done, they just have some very inexpensive umbrellas. Okay, well, now I think that's kind of done. Again, I may have just spent more time. Sometimes I just like to draw, so I mean, that's why I spend the time doing stuff longer than I probably need to, is just because it's fun to draw. So this gives me just more opportunity to sit down and draw. doodling is fun. Ooh, and water is such a strange thing. It really can just add to whatever it is that you're doing. It's like adding a little bit of life in some way. I think some of those lines may be unnecessary, those little dots I put in too. All right, now let us let that be. I think that should be okay. But I do think maybe one last thing. No, let it be. All right, folks. Well, I think I've done pretty much what I felt like doing. As I said, well, even here on YouTube, you can find Amanda Marshall's music. And yeah, that voice is just, it's an extraordinary gift for that person and for the rest of us that get to hear that as well. So that is a remarkable thing. All right. Ciao for now.